Hey, so I keep thinking about why some English jokes absolutely kill on stage while others just sit there dying in front of an American crowd. It is not magic, and it is not just the comedian being funny or not. There is real mechanics under the hood, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let me walk you through what I have noticed, from years of watching sets in basements in Austin to Netflix specials taped at the Comedy Cellar. I'm talking to you like a friend here, because this stuff gets way more interesting when you realize how much of comedy is culture, timing, and brain wiring all mashed together. First up, we have to talk about shared context. Every joke is basically a little contract between the performer and the room. The comedian says a setup that points to some piece of knowledge, and the audience agrees to fill in the blank. If that shared piece is missing, the laugh never happens. That is why a joke about the DMV absolutely destroys in the States, but gets polite blinks in London, where they call it something else and run it differently. Americans have this collective trauma of plastic chairs taking a number and waiting 3 hours to be told you filled out the wrong form. You say DMV and half the room is already laughing before the punchline lands. The setup did 90% of the work because the context was preloaded. This is where a lot of international comics stumble when they come to the US. They bring bits that crushed in Melbourne or Mumbai, and suddenly the room goes cold. Not because the joke structure is bad. The structure might be perfect. The problem is the references. If you drop a gag about cricket rules to a bar crowd in Ohio, you are asking them to do homework mid-set. Nobody wants to do homework when they have a 2-drink minimum. The best comics who tour globally learn to swap the wallpaper. The joke frame stays the same, but the details get localized. The guy who did a bit about Delhi traffic changes it to LA traffic. Same beats, same frustration, same absurdity. Now it hits because the audience does not have to translate. Timing is the next monster, and Americans are weird about it. We like our punchlines fast and our setups lean. Watch Richard Pryor or Chris Rock. The setup is almost conversational, and then boom, the turn comes quick. There's a rhythm to American English that comes from movies and sitcoms and even commercials. We are trained from childhood to expect a beat, then a payoff. A joke that takes too long to get there feels like it is wasting our time. That is why some British deadpan stuff feels slow here. It is not unfunny. It is just running at a different tempo. James Acaster can do a 20-minute callback, and it is brilliant. But he had to train U.S. audiences to stay with him. Most club sets do not have that luxury. You get 5 minutes, and if you are not lighting up the room by minute 2, the host is already thinking about the next comic. Word choice matters more than people admit. English is a mess of Germanic punch and Latin fluff, and comedians know which words hit harder. George Carlin talked about this decades ago. The short, hard consonant words feel funnier. Compare slipping on a banana peel to slipping on a mango peel. Both are funny images. But banana has that BNP pop that makes your mouth do work. Comedians gravitate to those sounds without even thinking about it. Say butt instead of buttocks, and the room loosens up. Say poop instead of defecate, and you are in business. It is juvenile, but it is also phonetics. American audiences especially respond to that percussive quality. There's also the whole thing with tension and release and how Americans handle taboo. We are a country that is both extremely Puritan and extremely crass at the same time. So jokes about sex or religion or politics work when they poke at that tension. The laugh is partly relief. You said the thing we all think but are not supposed to say out loud. Dave Chappelle is a master of this. He will walk right up to a line everyone feels but nobody names, and then step over it with a grin. The audience laughs because the tension breaks, but if you misjudge where the line actually is for that specific room, you are done. A college crowd in Portland has a different line than a club in Tulsa. The joke did not change. The context did. Self-deprecation plays huge in the U.S. too. We love a winner, but we really love a winner who makes fun of himself first. It signals that the person on stage is not actually looking down on us. Rodney Dangerfield built a career on no respect. John Mulaney tells stories where he is the clueless one. It makes the audience relax. Compare that to some traditions where the comic takes a more superior or lecturer stance. That can read as arrogant here. The room turns. We want the sense that the comic is in the mess with us, not above it. Even when the comic is roasting the crowd, it works best if they have already roasted themselves harder. Callbacks and pattern making are another piece. Americans are pattern junkies. We grew up on sitcoms with running gags. So when a comic plants a weird little detail in minute 1 and pays it off in minute 7, the room feels smart for remembering. It is a collective dopamine hit. The joke works because the audience got to participate. Mike Birbiglia does this beautifully. His shows feel like stories, but they are loaded with engineered callbacks. The laugh is not just at the line. It is at the recognition. Miss the setup or sit in a room that was not listening and the callback falls flat. So the comic has to teach the room how to listen without them noticing they are being taught. Now, why do some jokes die even when everything else is right? Sometimes it is just the room. Late crowd on a Tuesday after a rainstorm is not the same as a Saturday night bachelorette party. Energy matters. A joke about existential dread might crush at 8 p.m. and bomb at 11 p.m. when people want to be stupid and happy. Comics learn to read that and swap bits on the fly. The joke did not get worse. The context shifted. Another killer is explaining. If you have to explain the joke, you have already lost. This happens a lot with clever wordplay or cultural translation. A comic from New Zealand might have a brilliant pun that relies on Kiwi slang. He says it and gets silence. So he starts explaining the slang. Now it is a lecture, not a joke. American crowds are fast, and they will punish you for slowing down to teach. The rule is if it needs a footnote, cut it or rebuild it. So the footnote is baked into the setup invisibly. Irony and sincerity are weird here too. We are an ironic culture, but we also crave moments of realness. A joke that is pure sarcasm can work, but if the whole set is sarcasm, the room gets tired. They want to know there is a human under there. That is why the best specials have a moment where the comic drops the act for 30 seconds. Hannah Gadsby did a whole show about that. Bo Burnham swings from absurd to painfully honest. The laughs get deeper when the audience trusts that you mean something. If the joke feels like it was written by an algorithm, it does not land, even if it is technically sound. So how do you make English jokes work for an American audience? You obsess over shared reference. You trim the fat from your setups. You pick words that sound funny in the mouth. You read the room and adjust your taboo level. You make yourself the butt of the joke early. You plant callbacks and trust the audience to find them, and you leave space for a real moment so the laughs are not just noise. None of this is a formula that guarantees laughs. Comedy is still chaos. Two comics can do the same joke, and one gets a standing ovation, while the other gets crickets. Delivery is everything. Confidence is everything. The way you hold the mic and the way you react to a tepid laugh can save or sink a bit, but the mechanics underneath are real. When a joke works, it is because it lined up with the audience brain in all these invisible ways. When it does not work, it is usually because one of these wires got crossed. If you want to test this, go to an open mic, try a joke with a hyper-local reference to your hometown, and then try the same joke with the local reference swapped for something national. Watch the difference. It is wild. The structure is identical. The words are 90% the same. But one gets laughs and the other gets blinks. That is context. That is why comedy is hard and why it is a craft. At the end of the day, Americans want to feel like we are in on it. We want the comic to be smart, but not smug. We want to be surprised, but not confused. We want to laugh at the world and at ourselves, and we want to do it quickly because we have places to be. Nail that, and your English jokes will work. Miss it, and you will be dying on stage wondering what happened. And that is the brutal and beautiful truth of stand-up.